Paragraph 2 of Westphal. Um, Essentially, this is where you actually get into the analysis of the argument and the analysis of what Westphal is actually saying. Um, Primarily, all you've got to do here is to distinguish between the two forms of philosophical theology that preceded the shift that Westphal's talking about. So, I mean, really, we're talking about scholasticism and deism. Scholasticism you can really deal with in a sentence or two. Essentially, it is the view that faith and reason are largely harmonious, and perhaps refer to the examples of Aquinas and Anselm, just as a kind of little bit of a kind of illustration. Following that, you're looking at deism. Now, deism is slightly more complicated insofar as you've got much more to say about it, and a good deal of what you might say about deism is going to find itself in paragraphs 3 or paragraph 4. But here, primarily, what you want to say is that scholasticism holds that faith and reason are distinct, they should be separated. I would make reference to the kernel and the husk and say, well, the deists want to jettison the husk, the irrational parts of religion, and focus entirely upon the kernel, which is the rational parts of religion, and perhaps give a little bit of an example of that, so as to say that the kernel would be things like God as creator or God as the author of moral law. The husk would be things like superstitious, miraculous, revelation. Revelation is definitely one worth mentioning on the basis that it's really going to play a part in your paragraph 3, paragraph 4. So, I mean, again, we're looking at a reasonable sized paragraph here. I mean, this is not too brief. You definitely want to be reasonably clear about what deism is and sort of separation of the rational from the irrational. I mean, I would mention Kant's book, the title of Kant's book, Religion Within the Limits of Reason Alone. It's definitely worth a mention. So it's a fairly substantial paragraph, not the longest paragraph that you're going to write, but certainly a substantial one, and one you want to get reasonably well.